Okay, so have you ever been standing behind a folding table, much like this one, under the fluorescent lights, wondering if anyone actually wants to talk to you? Because same.
We, last week, did our first in-person event, the Mount Pleasant Small Business Expo, and as a small business, that was very intimidating to come in alongside some of these big brands. And there are things that we figured out in this process that we want to share with you as you prepare for your first in-person event. I'm Brooke.
And I'm Janae. Welcome to the Big Bad Marketing Podcast, Filmed Edition. Let's do this!
All right. So yeah, it's funny because we have been planning to attend this expo for how long?
Like 6 months.
A while. Yeah, we planned this for a while. And we did a lot of prep ahead of time. We had a document. We were ordering things. We were like, okay, we literally have everything. We're so prepared. And then what happened the evening before? We went to set up the evening before the expo.
Oh, we realized how unprepared we actually were? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
And we were like, we need to go and stop at 7 stores and pick up more things. And maybe most impactful for me was like, we were like, okay, we put our tablecloth on and we put our little tiny thing with our business cards in it. And then we backed up. We're like, yeah, okay. And then we looked around. We kept backing up and we looked at the other booths and they had like big signs and banners and bright colors and giveaways. And we were like, what do we do now?
Yeah, and they had so much stuff. And it was obvious that these bigger businesses had just done this before in ways that we didn't know. We needed like 1,000 koozies, right? Like we didn't even know how many people were going to be at this thing. And so we just felt really inadequate, kind
Not
of
big and bad.
Not big and bad. We did not feel big and bad.
And unsure.
We did.
Yeah.
And so you're exactly right. It's 5 p.m. the night before the expo, and we're like, how do we zhuzh this up? Like, how do we make this booth a more appealing place for people to want to actually come up to us?
Yeah, which it's like you want it to be warm and comfortable, but also I think what we did in that moment was really lean into our branding and this other piece that became a through line for me during the expo, which is the authenticity that we bring to what we do. And so we're like, okay, let's put our brains on this. Like, how can we make this more inviting? How can we create a compelling and exciting space that's not boring or really overdone?
Yeah. And so at these events, they generally hook you up with like an 8-foot table, 2 chairs, and then you've got just like this black curtain behind you. And that's everything you have to work with. So one of the things that I think was super impactful for us is thinking about the space in a different way in terms of other people were sitting behind their table, much like we are right now.
This is very uninviting.
It's very uninviting.
At an expo,
right?
anyways, where you're supposed to like talk with the people who walk by and bring them over and be engaging with them.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if it's supposed to, but that's the approach we wanted to take because that's the way we like to talk to people and work with people. Isn't like, hello, how are you? Or like, hi, how's it going? What's your day like? How can we be of service to you? Which is hard to do when you're kind of sitting behind a table, scrolling through your phone.
Yes, gosh, the number of people that were doing that. I was like, why are you here?
Yeah, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, and we'll talk a little bit more later about just sort of the energy and the differences in that. But I think for practical purposes, one of the most important things we did with our booth setup is we pushed the table to the back.
We did what you call feng shui.
Feng shui. We feng shuied the booth.
Yeah, exactly.
And it worked really well, actually.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. So you have this space, and instead of keeping the table where they landed it, which is, I think, just like a very practical and accepting of the way things landed way, we're like, no, let's get this out of here. Do we even need this table? I think crossed our mind. We were like, okay, yeah. We shifted it back. We got rid of the chairs completely.
Yes.
We're like, we ain't going to be sitting down, and the table served a purpose. Right? That's why we kept the table. What do you think was most helpful about the table? What kind of things were on there?
Yeah. I think the table just gives someone something to look at and to do and to kind of like guide them towards. And even in instances where we had stepped away from the booth, there were people approaching the table, and it was a way for us to showcase our merchandise and our very cool spinny wheel.
Spinny wheel.
Spinny wheel. Need a spinny wheel. Yeah.
Yeah, spinny wheel. Yeah, and then we had some flowers and part of the
Talk about the non-traditional things we had at our booth that were not what like the big businesses had.
Okay, which I also, because we're the big bad business.
But they were the big businesses.
They're like properly large businesses.
Yes.
But I do want to say we got really excited in that 6-month pre-event planning phase. Like, let's get a spinny wheel. That will be so different and unique and exciting and add a cool element that people are going to love to come over and win a prize. And can I just say, we walked in and like immediately when we walked in, we saw like 6 spinny wheels.
And ours was like this big.
Yeah, we had a tiny
and theirs
spinny
was
wheel.
like this big, and we're like, ooh, all right, inadequate even on the spinny wheel front. That's fine.
Yeah, which we did ultimately make into a more exciting, less run-of-the-mill wheel experience. But nonetheless, we did have like a tiny wheel, and like I said, like we didn't even have candy. All these booths had candy, and we were just sort of like, okay, what do we do here to make it spicy and fun? So we put our brains together, and we were like, let's get things that draw the eyes in, right? Because all of the material around us was black. It was like black curtains, which is perfectly on brand for us, right?
Super on brand. That was easy.
Yeah, that made it easy. But we did also pick up like, which is on brand for us and may not be for you as you listener are at home like I am planning for an expo, my first Small Business Expo or any number of things. And I want people to look at this and get a sense of who is my brand and what are we all about. Like, this is not take a big departure from who you are. This is dive deeper into what your brand represents. So I think we did a really good job doing that. You want to give some visual cues of how we did that and what ideas we came up with?
Yeah, so my favorite was balloons. We love balloons. So we just went to a party store. When we left at 5 o'clock the night before, we found the closest party store and we're like, can you get us balloons by tomorrow morning? And they did. And that was amazing. So that was like a visual element that brought the whole thing up. Another thing we got at the party store was like metallic kind of streamers almost. Like you would put on your door, like the hippie beads to walk through, and put them on either side of our banner sign behind us. And that was really cool too. And then we brought this gorgeous bouquet of flowers that we had arranged, thanks to Trader Joe's, holler. But it just provided these different visual elements that were colorful and bright and vibrant and just spiced up the space in a way that you're like, this is not a bank.
This is not your regular boring business.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And then I think a piece that really set us apart was actually these blazers, which we... At some point, this thought came to our minds, and we're like, yes, let's double down. Let's wear bright pink blazers, which is like professional, on brand, and spunky, right? It was like such a beautiful combination. And how many people at that event came over and they're like, love the blazers, or made a comment about just like the whole vibe being colorful and loud and on brand with what we're saying we are, big, bad marketing. We're not just like, okay, we're big bad marketing, but then sitting here with the scrolling and like boring business pants. Like, no, we're like, we're in it and we're doing it and we're going to go hard for it because that's our brand.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. The number of people that just came up and literally said the words, I love your brand. We were like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. Like,
yeah, us too. And tell us about what you do. And that's that's the point is like, this is your opportunity. The way that you create this space is an opportunity to get people to look at it and already formulate a positive idea about what you're doing and want to talk to you and just even come over and make a quick comment like, wow, this is so fun, love what you're doing, which opens the door for us to say, thank you so much. Do you run a business? And move the conversation forward, because another part of being at an expo is like, why are we here?
Yeah.
And what is the point of this? Which brand awareness is great. We do a lot of that. We think about that a lot, but the expo was really an opportunity also to drive that home and have conversations with real people and take it a step further than just throwing brand awareness into the void and make connections with people who actually wanted marketing services or start to broaden that pool of people who know about us and might use our services. So lead generation.
Totally. Yeah. So before we step fully away from like, how did we set up the booth for success? we just want to give you a couple like real quick checklist of these are the things that you might want to think about as you go. So the things that we brought with us, which was
energy.
First, vibes,
interrupting
energy.
each other.
But we had the tablecloth. We got this really great one off of Amazon that like you just stuck the edges of the tablecloth right under the footies, so it was just like very structured. We had the spinny wheel. We had some plastic kind of containers for paper of like flyers and things that we wanted to showcase.
Oh yeah, like an acrylic display.
Yep. Scissors, tape. This lifesaver of a gentleman brought us over some S-hooks for hanging our banner up behind us, which was a total lifesaver. We also brought zip ties just in case we needed to zip tie anything anywhere. But those
Grab
were
some
sort
string, rope, like
Yeah,
all these
string,
basic
rope.
items that you're there and you're like, I don't know actually what I'm going to do right now.
Yeah.
Grab them, bring them. The worst
Yeah.
thing that happens is you don't use them.
Yes.
Not a big deal.
Exactly. We brought like an Amazon box to prop something up. So things to sort of change the height and structure of the things on your table so that not everything's just laying flat out and you can kind of like showcase certain things. We brought a mason jar to put pens and things in. So just sort of think through all of the things that you're offering on the table and then those somewhat smaller elements that when you get there, you're like, okay, I don't just want to lay 500 pens on the table. I would like to present these in a nicer way.
Oh yeah, and to your point, like if everything's just laying on the table, it becomes cluttered instead of inviting.
Yes.
And so you don't need to put out everything you have. If you brought 50 t-shirts, definitely, I mean, that seems like it goes without saying, but maybe not. So if you need to hear this, listener, like don't put all the t-shirts on the table. Put one or two, let that be a visual cue, but also you can hide the rest of them under the table or behind you, right? Like everyone doesn't need to see everything you have. And I think that's a really key point here. Think about your experience in like a store. It's not usually on display where everything is at the same height on the table, right? They have these different display systems, little acrylic boxes, tools, other ways to elevate or even lower things. Like you have racks that are lower and then racks that are higher, right? So we had some brochures at one height and then we had little flyers at another place and then some pens were on the table. So you had a lot of visual variety. So when your eye was being drawn in, you want a focal point, but there's also some pops of color and other interesting things to bring you in. And you know what I also thought was super warm and really like a piece that tied the whole experience as you walked up to it together?
The rug.
The rug, yes.
The rug, yes. That was a last minute Walmart impulse purchase the night
It
before.
wasn't impulse. We were like, we need that.
Okay, you said she said we needed that, and I was skeptical, and then we got the rug, and that ended up really tying everything together in a way that it was just like, come on into our space.
Welcome.
Like, welcome to our home.
Take your shoes off.
Yeah, well, definitely don't take your shoes off. But
Well, because we have a cozy rug.
I know. But no, that really did feel like a piece of it that was different and than any other booth that was there was like, roll on in. This is our space. And because we had pushed the table back and used the rug in front, it really was like, we're inviting you into this space to have a conversation with us.
Yeah, come have a meeting with us.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to say I did see some other booths actually with rugs. But what was so cool and interesting about ours?
Well, I mean, it was fluffy.
And it was pink.
And it was pink. It was on
pink
brand.
and fluffy. Yeah, there was like some people with their like big bank, and it was like a big black plain rug, and that's fine.
The ones that aren't
and that's on brand.
comfortable either. Like when you walk into a bed,
or like doorway.
Like,
Yeah, it was. Yes,
just like this thick.
It was a little bit. I'm glad you're saying that. It was a little bit like giving the experience of here's what it would be like if you walked into our bank.
Yes.
Right? Like there was like a black rug and they had some pens and mints and then someone sitting like this.
Yeah.
And then when you came over to our booth, I guess this is helping me contextualize too. Like this is what it would be like if we had a formal brick and mortar storefront, right? Like this is what it would be like. There would be balloons and loud popping things. There would probably be pizza. We didn't have any pizza, but
lots of coffee.
Yeah. Coffee.
Yeah. So those were all just things that we had finalized over the course of these, the planning that we did and then the couple days surrounding the expo that I think just really kind of set it off in a way that felt really authentic for us, but also felt very professional. Like we were showing up the way that we wanted to, and it didn't feel like chintzy or anything like that.
Or overly fabricated in some way. That's just like, this is really who we are. You get what you get. And I think you mentioned that someone was like, what makes you different as a marketing agency? Because also there was other marketing firms there and other marketing companies, and we're like, Well, obviously because we're the best. Like, have you seen our blazers? But literally, like, not even the, oh, haha, sarcastic, we're the best. Like, we showed up with the kind of energy that we will show up to market your business with. And so in saying that to who is listening right now, right, to you, to our listener, like, this is your opportunity to create the experience that you want your prospects to have when they first see you and engage with you.
Yeah.
So what do you want that to feel like? Do you want it to feel sort of, maybe it's like very professional and clean cut, and that's perfect if that's your brand, right? Or maybe it's silly and loud like us, right? But I think our invitation for our listener here is figure out who your brand is, what that voice is, and what it should feel like.
Yeah.
And then create that.
Yes. Yeah. And then the booth is just the visual element of it. And then in a second, we're going to hop into sort of what were the other ways, maybe like behavioral and energetic aspects where we felt like these things worked that we did. But before that, listener, if you are enjoying these types of, tactical advice mixed with some random banter, you will love our monthly newsletter. You can head to bigbadmarketing.com/newsletter. And
can we make it come up on the screen? Bigbadmarketing.com/newsletter.
Probably we're going to find out. Okay, right
Click
here.
Click the button right here.
Yeah. And
drop it in your URL.
Yeah, and once a month we slide into your inbox and we show up in ways that are super tactical and helpful and just give you insight into better ways to market your own business.
Hey.
We like that. So one of the things that we wanted at this expo was to not be annoying. We wanted to show up.
We are never annoying.
We are never annoying. Nobody would ever think that. But we just wanted to show up again in a very authentic way. And we knew that we would be, energetic and ready to go. But there were certain things that we did that might also help you at your first expo, because you really do have to kind of take the foot traffic coming by and bring them into your space. So eye contact was a huge one, right?
Wait, I do want to back up. Like, I want to go back to the first thing we did that day, which is drink 4 cups of coffee. That is the first way
to bring the energy.
To really show up with energy. Okay, go on.
Yes. So eye contact. There are 2 types of people at the expo. There are people who are legitimately there to go around to the booths and to network and meet people and converse. And then the second group is the people who are there for the free stuff. And they are heads down. I'm going to walk up. If you got a wheel, I'm going to spin your wheel. I'm going to take my thing and I'm going to roll. So we wanted to attract the former, right? Because we actually wanted to converse with people and not just, hand out swag because of somebody trying to get a free thing.
Okay, I do want to ask about what percentage do you think? I have a couple of questions for you. You haven't even gone into the point yet. Okay, rapid fire. What percentage of the people who were walking by were in the first camp? Like, they were there, they really wanted to network, and then what percentage were like just here for some candy and some cool stuff, and that's it?
I think it was fairly like 75-25. 80-20 in terms of more people than not actually wanted to be there and wanted to have a conversation. Was that your take?
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, it was mostly people who actually wanted to get to know what was going on in small business world in Charleston.
Yeah.
And I think it's also representative of, like, when we think about different offers we're making or lead magnets, for example. So small business owner, you have a website, right? You have a way on the website for people to give you their email address. And we have like an exhaustive podcast episode about lead magnets. But if you don't have one, right, it's like, what is the incentive for someone to give you their email address? Yeah. And that's what your lead magnet is. And where am I going with this is like... Remind me what we're talking about. Oh, all the people. Yeah. They're going to... I also had 4 cups of coffee today. There's a certain number of people who are going to give you their email address just to get the freebie, and then they're going to remove themselves from your list and unsubscribe, and they're never going to convert into a customer. Like, there's just some people who... That's just not what they want. They just want the free thing.
Yeah, which is fine.
Which is fine. Yeah. And that's the point I'm getting to is, like... Just expect that some of the people just want your candy and they don't want anything else. Yeah. And allow that, and don't be, like, gatekeepy of, like, don't come over here. In fact, I think it makes it more warm and inviting for all the people when they see you are not navigating your conversations based on who is the most likely to buy something from you, and rather just being friendly because that's the way to be.
To everyone. Yeah. And so circle back to the point about eye contact is generally the people who are just there for the things. They're like very like heads down. I'm just like cruising from one booth to the next, and I'm going to get out of here in 20 minutes because bam, I got all my things.
I gotta go.
But then when you did make eye contact with someone, and I love a good like awkward eye contact from across the room, it's like, okay, now how do I draw them in? So what are some of the ways that you, once you sort of found your mark, would then engage them in conversation in a non-cringe way?
Okay. I think we had two different approaches to this. We had two different approaches.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I was doing is the eye contact and also a really warm and genuine good morning, which worked for a while of just like
the first hour, because this started at 11.
That's right.
I think you might have been saying good morning until about 2 p.m., which is fine.
But I don't want to say it was a tactic, but it revealed itself to me, as I say a lot, as like an opportunity to create really casual, warm, and inviting conversation with someone without being salesy and hi, and I want to talk to you about my business.
Yeah.
And I was like, good morning. Actually, I have no idea what time it is. There's no windows in here. What time is it? And sort of like moving the conversation that way. And it kind of, I feel like it opened people up and it allowed them to let their guard down instead of being on the defensive of like, I'm just here for candy, or I don't want to be sold to.
Yeah.
And more of just like, oh, there's a human behind this silly clothes that this person's wearing, and we can just have a little chat. And from there, I was like, oh, are you having a good day? And what do you do when you're not here? And that easily led to a fruitful conversation that often became either a lead person who wanted to sign up for our newsletter, or they revealed themselves to be like, I'm actually not a business owner and I'm looking for a job, or I'm here for some other reason and I just want your candy.
Yeah.
I'm like, great.
Yeah. And I feel like you were very like, let me just start the conversation and it's going to lead where it's going to lead. And eventually the purpose of this will unearth itself and we will kind of come to a conclusion. Whereas I am a little more direct and straightforward. So when I made eye contact with someone, I'm like, are you a business owner? That was my lead in. And if they said, yes, they are a business owner, fantastic. Tell me about your business. What do you do? And then of course people love to talk about themselves. So then that led to, way leads to way in the conversation. And if they said no, I said, well, do you know or love a small business owner? And then you'd see them thinking for a second and they're like, well, you know what? My neighbor just started a business, or my daughter makes jewelry on the side. And it's like, okay, fabulous. Here's the business
leading to our
next point of have some business cards in your pockets that you can say, that's amazing. I would love if you would pass this along, because we are a marketing agency that supports small business owners. So it was sort of come up with a question where either path they choose, it leads to a further conversation for you and a potential outlet for where you'd like things to go, maybe.
Okay, let's take on the perspective of small business owner who is listening to this, who is like, I'm getting ready for an expo, or maybe one day I want to do an expo. What would be like some lead-ins? Like I'm thinking for someone who does haircuts, or someone who is a financial coach. Like what sort of lead-ins, because what you just described works really well for us because we're small business marketing.
Yeah.
What could someone who's not in small business marketing say, and maybe to put you less on the spot, like how can they think about it? You're on the spot. What should you say if you're a hair cutter?
So I would think about your ideal audience, right? So we know that our ideal audience is small business owners. So how do we then differentiate who is a small business owner? So in our case, we're just going to outright ask you if you own a small business. And that feels easy.
We're going to look at you.
Yes.
They could be.
So if you're a financial planner, think about your audience. Or you might be a financial planner for business owners, in which case the same lead-in works for you. You might be looking for individuals approaching retirement. You might be looking for young professionals. So can you first segment it by the type of audience that you serve, in the way of like, hey, are you, or what do you do as a fine introduction if you're trying to suss out someone who's in retirement, or how do you spend your time? And then somebody might be like, well, I play golf and yada yada, and then you're like, okay, you might be retired. But I like the idea in that case of just like the good morning or good afternoon, and approach it from a very human standpoint, and then come up with a question. Yeah, I mean, it can be super
I haven't had enough coffee yet.
It can be super random, but I think in that case where you don't have a very specific way to segment out the person that you're looking for, then a more conversation-centric approach of like, hey, I think it's a beautiful day outside. Is the weather still nice? Like, you can literally
Find a way to bridge the gap.
Literally any type of small talk. Whatever you would say to your checkout person at Trader Joe's, you can start that same conversation with a stranger at an expo, and way will lead to way, because eventually they're going to ask you what you do because you have a booth at the expo. So clearly you're here presenting something.
Okay.
It all comes full circle.
I want to say we also have different energy and standpoints about talking to people, and maybe more importantly, like someone who's listening to this, like our listeners at home, they're trying to figure it out. Like, if you feel really cringe the way that I just did about like small talk, like just find a way with small talk. Like, some people are just not into small talk, or not good at it, or don't, like it. And I think there's a huge caveat here, which is if you're going to run a small business, you have to practice, and you have to find a way to become comfortable with having conversation with people and bridging this gap. But what would you say for some people who are like, how can they make this formulaic for themselves?
I would say don't get a booth at your local small business expo. Honestly, because that's going to be a terrible day for you. You're probably going to have a ton of anxiety about it. If you have a business partner or a loved one or a friend who would be interested in supporting you in that, and you think that maybe having somebody else alongside you would help. But the reality of an expo is you are engaged in one-on-one conversations with people. You have to very succinctly, all day, for hours and hours and hours. And you have to explain what you do, and you have to be deeply curious about who they are. So
I just think
my best advice is don't do this. This is not for everybody. We thrived in this environment because we're like, yeah, let's go. You're going to bring us hundreds of people that we get to talk to. Great. But I can see how somebody who's a total introvert might feel like that is the worst possible thing I could ever do.
Okay. So yes, we are both very social people.
Yeah.
And even I was at my limit at the end of the event. I was like, I have spoken to too many people and tried to be on my game, or, not tried, like I just was in my real authentic self, but it was just too much. At the end of the day, I was like, I'm glad that it is over now.
Yeah, we had to go to a yin nidra class where we both fell into like the deepest shavasana of our lives.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, even for us, who I would say are sort of self-proclaimed, at least partial extroverts, it felt like a lot.
Okay, but I do think if you are an introvert, like I will respectfully disagree with you. If you're an introvert and you run a business, networking is really going to be part of the growth of a business, or it often can be. And in general, aside from that, it just feels like a good life skill to practice, to get out of your shell and your comfort zone a little bit by taking really small steps, watch some YouTube videos about interacting with other people and how to do small talk in bite-sized ways. But this is a skill I think that is so useful for practicing. For us, especially because we're already good with the social part, that's fine. It's more like the perfecting what we're talking about and saying and giving an elevator pitch in a concise and articulate way that's really simple and easy for someone to understand, so they can hear us say it and they're like, oh, I actually do know someone who could benefit from this. And then they go home and remember our big bad colors, right? And how we take up all of our own space. Yeah. And they're like, yeah, that's cool, and I want to recommend them. And I think everyone can get to the place that matches their brand and feels good to come out in a really simple way.
Yeah, I like what you said too about the small steps. Like if this is something that you're like, okay, maybe a year from now I could do something like this, then this month go to a small networking event. Maybe go to a breakfast networking event, somewhere where you feel a little bit more in your element, where you're talking to people maybe you know already. Maybe you go to more happy hours with friends and things. Maybe you start introducing yourself to people at the grocery store and small talking with your person at Trader Joe's. But if you are not certain of yourself in a way that you're like, that sounds fun, I would not sign up for it. Because that's what we said, is we were like, that sounds like a blast, and it was still draining for us.
It was until it wasn't a blast.
It was a blast until it wasn't. But okay, so what were some of the other things that felt helpful as we were in these conversations? Because at a certain point, you have to take the conversation from, okay, amazing, to here's how we can help you. So what helped with that?
Yes, and as much as this was like about, I think for us it was about lead generation and brand awareness, yes, but beyond that, lead generation. So finding qualified leads for our business so that now we have email addresses of people who are in our pipeline and we can talk with about potentially working together. So I think we're going to get into this later, but like we were not using this as an opportunity to sign clients up on the spot or make sales in person, right?
Yeah. Not that we would have said no if somebody was like, I would like to pay you for this, but that was not our MO.
Always make it as easy as possible for people to give you money, which we did. We had QR codes and options so that if they were interested on the spot to sign up and buy something, they could scan the QR code and hit the button and bing, bang, boom, you're a client now. But maybe more directly, we had brochures that they could take something with them so that later they'll hopefully look at and remember. And we also had a lot of ways for them to opt into allowing us to open the channel of communication so that we can now continue as with having them as a prospect in our funnel.
Yeah.
So that looked like a clipboard with a sign up. So old school people could come in and with a Big Bad Marketing branded pen, sign up with their email address, and then opt in basically to hear from us later. We also had the QR codes and said, hey, follow us on Instagram so you can get more super silly, loud vibe color in your feed. And then the other option, which we didn't mention this before, and I did see a lot of tables doing this, but was give us your business card, drop your information in, and we raffled off a website audit. So we exchanged something that would be meaningful and valuable to them in exchange for them giving us their contact information. So now, again, they're in our pipeline, and we can follow up. And when the time is right, they're going to be like, yo, I need some Big Bad Marketing, y'all.
That is the hope. Yeah. And one of my favorite things was our spinny wheel, which it took us a while to actually sort of remember, like, oh yeah, there's this wheel, like you can spin this and do a thing. I feel like we had some missed opportunities there, but hindsight. Our wheel was set up a little bit differently. So there were a lot of other vendors there who was just like prize, 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 spin again, prize, prize, prize,
but prize being what? Talk through what prizes were.
T-shirts, koozies, pencils.
Like marketing paraphernalia.
Yeah, just total, paraphernalia.
Propaganda.
Propaganda. It was cups and, all sorts of things. And
I wish I had something here.
That's lovely. And I think that all goes into brand building. And, you give somebody a t-shirt and they wear it around and now you got a free billboard. And we did that too. But what we did was we had 14 slots on our little spinny wheel. And maybe we'll link to that in the show notes because it was actually a really cool spinny wheel, very sturdy, like great value for the price. And we did every other one was good for you, aka a prize or something that you got, and the other ones were good for us. So we were like, you're going to follow us on Instagram. You're going to take a selfie and you're going to tag us on Instagram. You're going to sign up for our email newsletter. So we
mainly did everything to get their email address. We're like, you win. You can sign up for our email newsletter.
Yes. And then we also did things like, we're going to give you 3 ideas for how to market your business. We're going to look at your website and in 30 seconds tell you 3 things that we would change about it. So there were sort of smaller things that we did that were good for them but weren't a lot of effort. We told jokes. We did Would You Rathers. So we made it really fun. Oh,
tell the Would You Rather. Okay, so the spinny wheel landed on Would You Rather. And here is what the Would You Rather is.
Would you rather write your company's email newsletter or hire us to do it? So it was some, just silly things like that where it all ended up being good for us in the end, but everybody might have laughed and everybody wins.
More opportunities to make that wow impression and really showcase who we are on the inside and that brand awareness and that brand building experience. Yeah, I think we nailed it. We should high five.
Yeah, I think that was really good. But I love the spinny wheel, and you can really make it for whatever your business is, listener. And say you're, a CPA and you thrive on just, you are the person that knows the things. That maybe your spinny wheel is like, I'm going to give you one piece of tax advice that you've probably never heard about, but can save you money on your taxes. Or, I'm going to say the three most common things that people are myths about taxes, or something that's just, you can showcase yourself in whatever way you want to, and you can sort of make the spinning wheel work in your favor. It doesn't have to be you have to give away things.
Exactly. That's where I feel like the downfall of it is when these brands have it there, and it's cool because it's enticing for people to come over. They're like, oh, a spinning wheel, I'm going to win a prize. But in our case, I think we came at it with a strategic approach of how do we use this as a brand building opportunity to showcase our expertise, to build value and credibility for our brand and our experience in doing this as a service. That's still fun for the person on the other side. That again, it's like, it's not being like, I'm going to walk over to the booth so someone can sell to me. Nobody wants to be sold to. Not many people anyways. But like, how can we still frame it as a win-win for everybody while still like we're getting their email address or we're presenting ourselves in a really good light. So
agreed.
I tend to think that that's how to do a lot of things. Like do a thing so you present yourself in a good light. And what I just want to say is, listener, like if you are running a small business, or maybe you know someone who runs a small business, they're getting ready to do their first event, please share this episode with them, send it to them, like let them know what you liked about it and what's helpful and what they're going to get out of it. Because I think at the end of the day, people want to know what's in it for them, whether that's when they visit your website and they're like, what does this company do? They want to know what they're getting. Like, go ahead, tell someone, hey, this is going to be really helpful for you as you set up your expo event. And there was some really funny tidbits and really good jokes in it. So that'll be really meaningful for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say a lot of these things we're saying would have been great to know a week ago.
I wish someone had sent me this podcast before.
Yeah, for real. So, if you or someone you love is hosting their or attending their first event, and it doesn't have to be an expo. It can be a pop-up where they're showing up to a gym event or whatever it is. Anything just community focused where they're going to interact with a lot of people. I think this can be really helpful.
Yeah. Okay, let's do a rapid fire of what did we not do when we were at the expo? Like what really common, obvious, or things that you would do if you didn't think about it in advance? Things. Cosas. What did we not do? What did we avoid? And what did we intentionally not do? Things.
Okay, so we really avoided the hard sell. And I think that was well received because people are there to chit chat and get to know a lot of people and have conversations, and they don't necessarily want to whip out their credit card right now. So we left a lot of conversations in a way that was very authentically, we'd love to explore this further with you. It seems like there's a lot of opportunities for us to work together. And then we said, I'll send you an email and we'll get something on the calendar, or you'll reach out to me. So at the end of every conversation, it was very clear who was to do the following up, or if there was anything to follow up about. And I think another thing we didn't do is assume that every single person was someone that we had to work with, right? Even if you are a small business owner, that's just one qualification for working with us. So throughout the conversations, there are many.
You have to wear pink jackets.
Yeah, there are many. But throughout the conversation, certain ones came to a point where it was like, okay, this is a really lovely person, but they're not a good fit for us. So let's just add their email to our email list. They can get our newsletter. That's lovely.
And maybe one day they will become a good fit.
Yeah, but we don't necessarily need to treat every single person that we talk to as a hot lead that needs a personalized and one-on-one follow-up from us. Is that fair?
Leads. Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah. I think in the duality of our partnership, you and I, you are much more quick to be like, this is not a good fit and we're not going to work with you. Thanks for coming over to our booth.
Yes, directness.
Super direct in a very kind way where I am like, well, we don't even know everything yet. Maybe there's more information. Let's stay in touch, Like this is obviously a reflection of my conditioning of being like, yes, and not saying no as much.
Yeah.
And I'm working on that.
You are working on that. You're doing good.
So no.
Yeah.
But also, I'm like, sometimes I think we can find a surprise good thing out of being open-minded and saying, okay, let's if this connection is going to work, like let's set up a time and we can talk more about it so that we actually have the details of it. But
yeah.
yeah.
And another thing that I could have done better in certain contexts is shutting off conversations sooner. I feel like certain conversations dragged on, and you know the ones that I'm talking about. But once it was very clear that someone just is there to talk at you, and
well, they're excited about what they
and
do.
they're excited about what they do, and it just goes on and on and on and on. And then it's like you see other people walking by. It's maybe just having something to sort of close it and say, okay, this was really wonderful. Next step, or we'll follow, whatever it is. But there were certain conversations.
Excuse me, I have to go.
Excuse me, I need to leave right now.
I'm just
walking goodbye. But yeah, I wish that I'd shut certain things down.
But I
sooner.
think that comes back to the same thing I just said about saying no. Like you're much more practiced, and that muscle is stronger in the directness and in like what your boundaries are, and you're more clear about those things in a way where as you build that muscle, as I will continue to build that muscle, I will also get better at sussing out if the relationship is going in a good direction and if we need to continue talking, right? Or if it's not a good use of our time, and be better at being like, okay, such a pleasure to meet you.
Yes.
I have to refill the candy bowl.
Yes. I am needed in the back.
And then you like walk around the back of the table.
Just gonna hunch down here for a minute.
Okay.
So what about following up with people after the expo? Because what is hysterical is we have gotten the same email like 10 times. The cringe email, and certain companies are sending out these emails, and I'm like, I didn't even talk to this person.
They're like they thought they would pull a
happening?
fast one on you.
Yeah. So what is our sort of approach to following up?
Yeah. Okay. Let's go through real quick. What did we do after the event? So, tip that I wish we had done, which maybe we're going to get to that too, but is on the back of someone's business card, take a few notes to remind you who they are, whether that's like what they were wearing, what you talked about, like something that stood out about that exchange, or what they wanted when they said, yeah, can you follow up with me about the proposal? Like, write it down. Because then you can go back to it later. And then, so what we did was we pulled out all the business cards and we sorted them out quickly into like actually a very hot lead, and we need to follow up immediately. A warm lead, we will follow up this group next. And then people who were more like just network people, or they weren't a prospect and they were never going to be interested in what we do, but they're good to know them and we have their card.
Yeah, and we'll drop them on the email list, and that will be that.
But we will not probably send all of these people a blanket email which says, hi, it was so lovely to meet you at the expo, and if you need my professional services, here's the link.
Schedule a call.
Yeah, which there's nothing inherently wrong with following up. So what I want to say is we're 100% following up with the hot leads and the warm leads, but there will be a tailored approach, and it will be more customized, and also for us on brand. Like it's not just this generic, hi, how are you?
Yeah. They're all personalized, and they're coming from us, and they're not from a template. People can tell when things are from a template, and people can tell when ChatGPT has written your follow-up emails. So, I mean, I've been laughing out loud at some of the follow-up emails that Janae has been sending, just because they are like inside jokey with the people that we had the conversation with, and like it's just so fun and it's memorable, and again, it's on brand for us. So I think another thing though is just following up quickly. So there were several leads. The expo was on a Thursday that we reached out to on Friday morning, and we're like, hey, let's get it on the books. Like this is what we talked about yesterday. And I think just, striking while the iron is hot, there's something to that. Bam. There's a reason that is a phrase for a reason, and not just letting these things sit idle. The people that are just joining our email list, we're going to send an email with, welcome to the party. But we're going to hit them with an email in the next 2 weeks when we send our monthly newsletter. So there's an element of like, these people will hear from us soon, and they're not going to sit for 6 months in a corner until we decide to send an email and then wonder how in the heck they ever ran into big bad marketing.
Who is that?
Yeah, exactly.
Why am I on this email list?
Yeah.
It's just building those connections.
Yep.
Okay, so after this experience, being where we are right now, what would you have done differently to prepare, to be more in it when you were there, for follow-ups? Like, what kinds of different things would you have done?
I would have eaten before because
Oh, 4 cups of coffee was not enough?
it was really hard to find time to eat because the
Yeah.
flow was very steady. So obviously, depending on the event you do and the kind of flow of people that you have coming through, but I was hungry. And by the end of the afternoon, I think I was getting a little bit hangry.
Mm-hmm.
And feel for anybody who came to see me at like 3 o'clock.
Oh, I was going to say it was great because just at that time someone came around with little samples of their food.
Oh, yes, yeah.
And
that
I was
great.
like, oh, this is perfect. Bring them all to Brooke and she will
Yes.
eat all of them.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wish that I had eaten before. How about you?
This is a great one. I'm learning what I do is I ask you questions and then I don't have an answer to those questions myself. Okay, I would have liked to set up a video recording of us that was just running in the background the whole time. And I would have liked to make more time to go around to the other booths and talk, and maybe that looked like us having a trade-off or bringing someone in to help us
Yeah.
on the day of, because that would have been great to just get more of a sense of what other people were doing, spy on our competition with the other marketing companies. You know who you are, we're coming for you. Just
Yeah.
kidding, totally kidding.
Yeah, we're definitely not.
No, because we're in our own category of big bad.
Correct.
Yeah, I think walking around and getting to see people in their own element instead of just waiting for people to come up to us would have been a great opportunity to work with and engage with other business owners there. But everyone was kind of confined to their booth doing the same thing we were, so
Which was just
hard.
like, la, 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 la. It was,
Yeah.
rapid. But I agree with that. And I think having a third person might have been really helpful so that it's sort of, the 2 people are manning the booth. One person can either walk around or eat or just take a break, because us having to be, it's just the 2 of us. That's what you get with Big Bad Marketing. It just felt like, oh my gosh, if we could just give each other more breathing room, but it was so consistently busy, which is amazing, that that really wasn't an option.
Yeah.
So, but what we saw from some of the larger companies is that they had people coming in shifts. So it's like people had a 2-hour shift. And I think that's nice, but I'm not sure how engaged they were or how much they really desired to be there in a way that we did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with that. Which comes back to if networking and talking to people isn't your thing, then don't necessarily put yourself in that position.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
I'm sorry for those people who got stuck there, but I think we were in our element, and overall, I'm just really proud of us. Like, we went there and we kicked some butt,
Yeah, it was
metaphorically
fun.
speaking. We ate candy
Yes.
from our own bowl.
We still are eating a lot of candy. I would say if you get candy, probably put candy in your booth that you don't like, because otherwise you're going to have to eat all of it after. And I'm going to be eating Kit Kats until Halloween at this point, which will...
Oh, that's perfect timing.
Yeah, great.
I also thought more people would take candy. We were like, no, let's not get that small bag. We need a really big bag or we're going to run out. And then we left with... I don't think we actually ever refilled the bowl of candy once.
No, we did not.
I think we left with still candy in the bowl that we started with.
Did we mention that we also had glow sticks?
Glow sticks!
I liked the glow sticks. I
Yes.
thought that was a fun thing. Again, just another weird on-brand thing. But anyway, we
at the
we
party
couldn't-
store, you also had to talk me down from like the giant confetti, like boom, let's get one of
Confetti
these.
Yeah.
And okay, another idea I had, we can like weigh in on this idea in the comments, was to get a headset and a speaker. And we did talk about that with like a little bit of sincerity at a few moments of like, that's a really cool differentiator, right? We're like walking around high energy with the voice and you can hear us from the other side of the room. But
Yeah, that would be Janae, if you couldn't tell.
But we did opt not to, mainly because we're like, our neighbors are going to be pissed.
Yeah, we didn't want to put that on our poor neighbors. We had the best neighbors, though.
Yeah, we did. We did have
yeah.
some good neighbors.
Yeah.
And
State Farm.
yeah, but on the other side of that, we also had people all around us who were scrolling, and I'm like on the fence between. Okay, here's a hot thought question: is did it benefit us that the people were kind of sitting there with no energy and low energy and not really engaged in what they were doing, because that meant more people were attracted to what we were doing and felt the
Could be.
vibe, like it was magnifying? Or did that hurt us in that we just looked like standout weirdos being like, blah?
Not that we would care. Not
No,
that we
no,
would care
I
if
mean
anybody-
strictly
but-
from like a, did it work for us?
Oh,
Not about their opinions, but like, did it work better for us to be the ones standing up?
Oh, yeah. And we even had someone say to us, I've been to all the other marketing booths here, and yours is the most engaging, and you actually do have high energy, and you're standing up, and you're actually speaking to me, and you're not like, just, I don't know. It's intimidating to approach somebody who's just sitting down and be like,
Yeah.
hi.
Is it more intimidating to approach that person than the person who's smiling and standing and open?
Yeah.
Which is wild because I feel like we're the ones when you're doing that, you're the one coming with all this energy.
Yeah.
So you would think that would be harder to approach, and yet I have to agree. If
No.
someone's like, you're like, hello.
Yeah, I'm like, excuse me, am I bothering you here?
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
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 All right. Any closing thoughts? You want to make an invitation to our listener at home, our viewer maybe? Do we have viewers?
I don't know. Let us know. Let
Yeah,
us
did
know
you like
what
this
you are to
video?
us. Yeah, because they're listeners and now they're watchers.
Oh
We
yes,
have-
we
we
did
have
say that
watchers.
actually. So if you are listening to this podcast as an audio on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, this is also available maybe on those platforms too. But we're learning. This is our first day.
Figuring it out.
This is also available, this particular episode, as a video. So go
On
check us
YouTube.
out. We're wearing pink blazers and we're jumping around and looking wild like we had 4 cups of coffee before this.
Beautiful. Yeah. I mean, all in all, I think we are super happy with the ROI, return on investment, from the expo.
From the
We
pink
feel
blazer
like-
alone.
From the pink blazer alone. We feel like it was a good use of our time. We feel like we have already established a couple relationships that make it feel like it's going to be worth it. And then from a cost standpoint, if we close one lead off of the expo, it was worth it. So that's always, obviously
Oh yeah.
a cost consideration as well, because it's not free to show up at a booth at an expo.
Can I offer you some praise?
Yeah.
Of at the very end in the last minute here, you're like, okay, but let's give like tactical money related advice about the thing we said this episode is about. So thank you. I'm bringing it back if you're listening. And
Gotta
you made
get
it
it in
this
at the
far.
end. Yeah.
It was a value and worthwhile, I think, investment just in terms of ROI of brand awareness, because now just more people know about us. Also, the
And
vanity
we did
metric.
get like 15 followers.
Yes, we have new followers. So welcome to you also.
Yes.
But yeah, also it was just a really great eye-opening business experience. So if you're an entrepreneur, I highly recommend at least once do it, give it
Yeah.
a try.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
And while you're here, go ahead and hit the like button and subscribe to our podcast so you never miss one of our amazing dance moves.
Big bad marketing episodes.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.